Chapter 5 Agriculture. Let's learn human economic activities, primary activities, secondary activities, tertiary activities, factors affecting agriculture, types of farming. In recent history, agriculture has been the main source of food we consume on a daily basis. Although for most of the human history, our ancestors had survived by hunting and gathering food, around 10,000 years ago, they started producing their own food. Agriculture is the term used to describe the act of growing crops and raising livestock for human consumption and use. The different economic activities performed by human beings have been divided into the following three types. Primary activities. The economic activities which involve extraction and production of natural resources are called primary activities. For example, agriculture, fishing, food gathering, forestry, mining, etc. In India, 2/3 of population is dependent on agriculture. Secondary activities. The economic activities which involve the processing of natural resources are called secondary activities. Example, manufacturing of steel, baking of bread, weaving of cloth, etc. Tertiary activities. The economic activities which support the primary and secondary activities are called tertiary activities. For example, banking, transport, finance, education, trade, etc. The word agriculture is derived from the Latin word ager, which means land or field, and culture, which means cultivation. It is both science and art of producing crops and livestock for economic purpose. Agriculture requires skill and is founded on scientifically verified facts. It is also an art of raising plant life from the soil for the use of mankind. It has two main divisions, plant or crop production and animal or livestock production. The ultimate purpose of agriculture is to produce food for human and animal consumption. Agriculture was the basis for the growth and development of ancient civilizations. Even in today's industrial age, 50% of the world's population is engaged in agricultural activity, either directly or indirectly. All types of food, including cereals, pulses, fruits, vegetables, milk, eggs and meat are entirely the products of agriculture. Brain tickler. What is organic farming? Agriculture in the present day is of dual importance. Not only does it feed the people of a country, but it also provides raw materials for many other industries such as sugarcane for making sugar and cotton for textile manufacturing. Agriculture is also a consumer of industrial products like tractors, harvesters, threshers, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, etc. Thus, the industrial sector and the agricultural sector depend on each other for growth and prosperity. Factors influencing agriculture. Farmers decide about what to grow, which animals to keep, and the methods they use on the basis of various social, economic, and environmental factors. Some of the physical and economic factors which greatly influence agriculture are as under. Relief or topography. The land on which crops are grown is known as arable land. The nature of topography plays a significant role in development of agriculture. It determines the extent of soil erosion, methods of cultivation, and mode of transportation. Info Hive. Tractors were invented in 1880s to pull plows through fields. In the mountainous and hilly regions, soil erosion is common. Terrain in such regions restricts use of machinery and development of means of transportation. Plains have fertile soils and also use of machinery and transportation can be easily provided. The alluvial plains, the river valleys, the deltas are very suitable for agriculture. Climatic conditions. Climate plays a dominant role in agriculture. Plants require sufficient heat and moisture for their growth. In the tropical regions, where temperature is high throughout the year and rainfall is plenty, agriculture is successfully done. Plant life is not possible in dry areas without the help of irrigation. In the lower latitudes, where temperature is high, plants need more moisture for their growth. On the other hand, in the higher latitudes, where summers are cool, winds are not dry, rainfall of 50 to 62 centimeters is sufficient for plant growth. Soil. The richness of soil is another important physical factor affecting agriculture. Soils differ in respect of physical and chemical composition. They may be fine or coarse, porous or non-porous. In general, fine soils like loam or silt are very fertile. Brain tickler. How much of the earth's surface can be used to grow food? Soils which are found at the place of their origin, known as residual soils, are poorer than those which have been transported from the place of their origin. The transported soils are rich and have a variety of minerals in them. However, the fertility of the soils decreases with constant cultivation. Fertility of the soil can be renewed by rotation of crops and by the use of manures and fertilizers. Economic factors. Economic factors influencing agriculture include availability of market, transport facilities, labor and finances. Due to better economic factors, the agricultural production is good in developed countries as different resources can be made available adequately. The main agricultural inputs are seeds, fertilizers, machinery and labor. Besides these, other important factors are land tenure system, land use, availability of farm machinery, government laws and policies, and the level of scientific and technological development taking place in the country. Types of farming. Physical and human factors have played their respective roles to give rise to different types of farming in different parts of the country. Since the development of agriculture, many different forms of agricultural production have been implemented. Currently, farming is classified on the basis of geographical conditions, product demand, labor and level of technology employed. Some types of farming are as follows. Subsistence farming. When farming is done to meet the needs of the farmer's family, it is called subsistence farming. In this type of farming, low technology and household labor are generally utilized. Farming is done on smaller plots and output is also small. All types of manure and a little of chemical fertilizers are used. Farmers practicing this type of farming are generally poor and have low standards of living. Shifting cultivation. In shifting cultivation, a small patch of land is cleared by felling trees and burning them. Then the ashes are mixed with the soil and seeds are sown. Crops like yam, cassava, potatoes and maize are grown. After a couple of years, when the soil loses its fertility, the patch of the land is left fallow and the farmer moves on in search of a new patch of land. Shifting cultivation is practiced in thickly forested areas of Amazon basin, tropical Africa, parts of Southeast Asia and Northeast India. Different names of shifting cultivation. Jhum cultivation, Meghalaya and Chhattisgarh, Chengin in Philippines, Milpa in Mexico, Roca in Brazil, Ladang in Malaysia, Masol in Congo Basin, Konok in Venezuela. Nomadic herding. In this type of farming, cattle, sheep, goats and camels are reared by nomads or herdsmen. These animals provide milk, meat, wool, hide, etc. The herdsmen move from place to place with their animals in search of new pastures. This seasonal movement with livestock in search of pastures is called transhumance. Nomadic herding is practiced in semi-arid and arid regions of Sahara, Central Asia, and some parts of India like Rajasthan and Jammu and Kashmir. These nomads do not have permanent dwellings. They live in tents. Info hive. The cultivation of grape wine for the production of grapes is called viticulture. The raising of fish commercially in specially developed ponds is called pisciculture. The cultivation of flowers is called floriculture. The cultivation of vegetables for direct sale to consumers and restaurants is called truck gardening. Sedentary farming. When a farm is based in the same location all the time, it is called sedentary farming. In the development process, when the farmers learned to maintain soil fertility, they started settling down in one place. They practiced crop rotation, developed simple tools for cultivation, and started rearing cattle. For additional income, the farmers developed some cottage industries that used locally available raw materials. Intensive farming. The cultivators in these areas work on their small pieces of land with the help of their families. They use improved varieties of seeds, farm manure, and chemical fertilizers for soil fertility. They use insecticides and pesticides, and there are arrangements for irrigation. All these factors increase per hectare productivity. The farmer grows 2 to 3 crops every year as the growing season is long. Rice is the major crop, and wheat, maize, pulses, oilseed, and sugarcane are grown additionally. This type of farming is used in the densely populated monsoon lands of Asia. It is found in China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and parts of Southeastern Asia. Commercial farming. This type of farming is done with the sale of agricultural produce and livestock as the main purpose. In this case, a very large area is cultivated and large amount of capital is utilized. Heavy machinery is used with less emphasis on manual labor. Commercial farming includes commercial grain farming, mixed farming, and plantation agriculture. The temperate grasslands of North America, South America, Europe, and Asia are the major areas where commercial grain farming is done. Extensive farming. Extensive farming is an agricultural production system that uses small inputs of labor, fertilizers, and capital relative to the land area being farmed. It is mostly practiced in sparsely populated areas. So, very little labor and capital are used in comparison to the amount of land cultivated. Farms are very large, running into thousands of acres. An average-sized farm is usually between 1,000 and 2,000 acres. A single major crop is grown for export purposes. Farming operations are fully mechanized, and tractors for plowing, seed drills for sowing, and combined harvesters and threshers are used extensively. Severe winters in some regions restrict the growing season, and multiple cropping is not possible. Mixed farming. In mixed farming, livestock is reared along with crop farming. In this, cattle are reared for meat, milk, fur, and wool. It is generally practiced in thickly populated areas of Europe, Eastern USA, Australia, Argentina, Southeast Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. A well-planned system of crop rotation is followed by farmers to retain soil fertility, which keeps the yield high. Mixed farming is based on raising cereals, root crops, fodder crops, and rearing cattle for meat and dairy. The yield is generally high. Here, livestock and farming are dependent on each other. Plantation agriculture. It is a type of commercial farming which was originally introduced by the Europeans in the tropical and subtropical regions, which they colonized. These farms or estates are very large and scientific methods are employed. Huge capital investments and cheap skilled labor are needed. Generally, a single crop like tea, coffee, sugarcane, banana, rubber, spices, or cotton is grown. These plantations are managed professionally on the lines of industrial units. Rubber plantations in Malaysia, coffee plantations in Brazil, tea plantations in India and banana plantations in the West Indies are good examples of plantation agriculture. Dairy farming. Organized and increased milk production was needed to cater to the needs of industrial cities. This led to the development of dairy farming originally in Europe, where the climate is suitable for natural pasture lands. A large labor force is needed in dairy farming to look after the cattle. Currently, machines are used in developed countries for milking, feeding, and cleaning the cattle. Dairy farming thus requires huge capital investments. Recap. The different economic activities performed by human beings can be divided into primary, secondary, and tertiary activities. The factors which influence agriculture include soil, relief features, climatic conditions, and economic factors. There are roughly 10 types of farming, namely subsistence, shifting, nomadic, sedentary, intensive, commercial, extensive, mixed, plantation, and dairy. A large estate in which tea, coffee, banana, or rubber are cultivated is called a plantation. Agriculture now performs a dual role of providing food as well as providing raw material to various industries.